Welcome to the MTD CNC EMO podcast. We're helping to guide you to find your solutions providers throughout EMO from the 18th to the 23rd of September. I'm really excited about the event. Now, of course, during the event, there's going to be webinars, there's forums, panel discussions happening throughout in different languages. There's loads going on and loads for you to see. However, we're here talking about different solutions that's happening to guide you and help you make the best use of your time. So I am joined by Paul Jones.
Good morning.
Colin Griffiths and Tom Scabala.
Good morning.
Hello. And we're going to be talking about different companies providing different products to the manufacturing industry. But first, I've got a quiz for all of you watchers and listeners. So guess how many exhibitors are exhibiting at EMO?
750.
Higher.
You said it.
Sorry, yeah.
750. Is it in the thousands?
Oh, yes.
You can't.
It's 1,500.
Sorry, Tom,
More.
Is it 1,800?
You're close.
we're not going to go through every single number in the dictionary.
1,813 people are exhibiting. And the reason I'm saying that is there's so many different companies, and we're talking about a few that are just up there with some of the best and latest technology. So let's get excited about these companies. Also, how many halls are you going to be walking around?
What, he's going to be walking around
Lots.
one.
There's loads. I don't know.
17,
Was
isn't
that? Yeah, 17. Well, no, I don't think there's 17 halls. Or maybe there is, but I know there's the numerical term is 17, but not sure.
Anyone else?
I think it's 8.
I know, yeah, 17 halls definitely, because that's what I
Higher.
think.
Is there?
Is it? 22.
27 halls.
Oh, look at you.
27 halls.
All right, you're being so smart. I'm going to ask you a couple of things
Don't
they're
ask me.
specialising
Go on.
in terms of what they're focusing on at EMO 2023.
No, let's talk about some of the companies we're going to
Oh,
be
you don't know.
talking about.
It's sustainability and digitisation, did you know? Easy
Yes.
for me to say, all the S's and Z's.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on swiftly. Just let you know.
Sustainability and digitisation. Right, okay, one of the first companies that I want to discuss is Heimberg. Now, Heimberg provide over 8,000 products to industry. So anything work holding, you can certainly count on this company. With a strap line, no matter which industry or machining, we can find the perfect solution for your workpiece clamping. So what is exciting about their stand at EMO then?
Well, you've just said it. You look at Heimberg as a work holding company, but at EMO, they're going to change that because they want to be known now as a full range supplier from changeover, clamping, measurement and automation. And I didn't know you could do measurements in a chuck system until I read about this. So that's if you're having problems in your shop where you're machining something, then you've got to take it off to measure it and then put it back on, then Heimberg might have an answer for you. But then also they are bringing their
Measurement in process? You're talking about
in
the
process, yeah. So you can measure the temperature of the temperature, how much it's flexed, and not just on the OD, on the ID as well.
This might sound like a stupid question. I'm going to ask anyway. You're talking because we see it a lot in milling machines. This is for turning machines.
Yes.
Right.
And they're also bringing their quick changeover system, the Centrotex. I hope I got that right.
Easy for
I'm
you to
sorry
say.
if I didn't. Which is it's great because it's 0 point with a repeatability of 2 microns, and they say you can change over in under 2 minutes. Now you think changing a chuck normally, you're probably looking at, for somebody who does it every day, you're probably looking at half an hour. For somebody who never does it, you could be looking over an hour. So
Paul, about 3 hours in.
but you just think the time saving there, especially if you're a little job shop who goes from small parts to large parts. Yes, it's an investment, and it's gonna be an investment for a job shop, but you're gonna get that back in.
They call it their
no time.
adaptations, don't they? So
Yeah.
you can go from you can go from a milling machine to a turning machine. You can take the work holding off and put it onto the.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the terminology of the product, but it's if you're looking to go from part to part quickly or operation to operation quickly, you can change from a mandrel to a collet to a chuck, just like that.
But you've just said it there,
and it's automated as well.
And you've just said it there because it's quick point as well. If you're doing, say, you don't have a 5-axis or a sliding head, and you've got a lathe and a mill, and you need to turn something, but then it wants a hole drilling or flats, you can actually have the same. You can take the whole chuck off with the workpiece in, sit that on your milling machine,
Yep.
and machine it, so it's never come out the truck. So that could be a real game changer.
It's speed. Companies that have a need to really go from process to process, but are using different work holding technologies to support those parts, should and could combine everything into one solution.
But it's not just about speed, though, is it? It's about repeatability and accuracy.
And they've even come up with something else. They've actually got a trolley system as well. So for anyone who's changed a chuck, they are not the lightest of things. It's usually a two-man job.
Is that where you get your muscles from?
Exactly. That's why I've got guns like this.
And
Changing
shellfish are
chucks.
available. I just want to interject very quickly. I know this is podcast audio, but we're doing video. When people highlight things on their notes, they highlight one or two items. Basically, you've highlighted the whole page there.
Yeah, because it's
the highlight system work.
Yeah, because it's
Sorry to
it's also interesting. But they've actually got a trolley now, so with a hoist on, so you can change chucks on your own by one person, and as well as you taking the chuck off, you can actually store it in the trolley, so it keeps it clean, and you don't have to just because
there's an automated way of doing that.
Yeah,
as well, which I
and you
think
can
they'll be
automate
showing.
it. But let's be honest, we've all been into a shop where you've seen chucks
With a
sat on
trolley.
pallets.
Yeah.
Just sat on the floor, getting covered in swarf, coolant. So you keep it in the trolley, you keep it clean,
There
the
you
longer
go.
it's going to last.
It's not
So
the sort of trolley
much.
you're thinking about, Colin. You're talking
No.
about shops and trolleys.
I've never been this.
He's
I
off
don't
down
do
Lidl's.
shopping.
Don't.
Oh,
Right,
absolutely not.
okay.
Wheeling people around in a trolley who've had a few beers, that's a different story. Anyway, moving on. You've had your 4 minutes of fame, Tom. So measurability, changeovers, and work holding.
Yes, and
Don't read all your highlights again. We'll be here all day, mate.
So the next one is Diatul. Now this is a provider of precision tools and the focus on reaming. A company with over 35 years of experience in the manufacture and repair of multi-bladed reamers and state-of-the-art processing technologies. What excitement have they got on their stand?
They've got lots of things, but I think you've covered it all there. So thank you very much.
Sorry.
Absolutely not. No, reaming. So it's all about, well, I can say it's not all about, but big batch runs first of all. So your industry's great example is your automotive. So you're doing lots and lots of manufacturing there in terms of bores. So, 500,000 plus, they need some quality tooling for that type of things. But it's not just about that. It's about having, because you're thinking boring, it can be quite a slow process, but their tooling is set up to do it super fast and super accurate. So you're talking 5 micron repeatability here. So some really great components, obviously making in-house. They've got some fantastic machines in their facility in Germany. So that's one thing, but it's not just big batch runs. They've got the skill sets there, so you can get custom builds to do it if you've got specific smaller batch runs. So that's part of what they're doing in terms of your reaming. A whole different. You're going go on. You don't need to put your hand up.
I
You're not
don't
in
know
school.
what they've got on. What have they got on their stand? Do you know?
They will have a number of different types of products. So they've got, let me get this right, the monoblock reamers, so they're the all-in-one pieces. They've then got the reaming heads where you're interchangeable, but part of their product suite is actually an expandable reamer. So what you're doing is you're going to be getting your tool wear and things like that. So rather than having to send it back to be reground, you can actually, it's expandable, so you don't need to do that. So you can keep that machine tool running and getting those big production runs throughout the process. So
That's what you see from tooling manufacturers these days. They're trying to provide not one product that fits all, but a product that does as much as possible without either changeover or repurchase. And it sounds to me like this is a company that can be considered for that full reaming. So,
and I think as well they're looking at. I read a bit into Diatul, and they're looking at sustainability as well, because obviously with reamers, and any machinist will tell you, reaming is the worst part of any process, because you could spend hours, weeks in a job, and then you have to ream it, and if the reamer cut's big, scrapped.
you put the old plug gauge in and you go, oh no,
Exactly.
it's wobbling it
Honestly,
around.
reaming used to be. It was the worst thing I ever did. But once a reamer's worn, it goes in the bin, and you buy a new one. But with Diatul, you don't. You can actually send it back. They will re-tip it, resharpen it, and send it you back. See, they're looking on waste of material as well. So you're not just binning it. You're just having it. So.
And they probably have a contract with you doing that, and then in turn, there's sustainability, but then the price point's different because you're not investing in a brand new one.
Exactly, yeah. So, and I was looking at their, and Colin, please correct me if I'm wrong, is it called a ring reamer?
It is a ring reamer, absolutely.
The sizes of these things are ridiculous. Now, the biggest thing I ever reamed was 35 mil. Now, these ring reamers start at 50.6 and they go up to 205,599 millimeters.
Okay.
What is even that big to ream?
You've got to rely on the machine spindle as
Oh,
well.
you're going to have to have a
you've got to rely on a
powerful
lot of
machine to get that through.
Yeah.
And another thing as well is, in terms of rather than using a boring bar, you can use it. They're reamers as well. And what you can do is you don't need to do test cuts. So these reamers are super accurate, super precise.
So you're
And
saving
any material.
And you're saving time then, because if you've got to do a test cut to get your boring bar set, that's 1, 2, 3 attempts to get that set. If you can just put that down first time, you say, as well as saving money, you're saving time.
Absolutely. So there you go. I'm going to summarise that. Diatool, get yourself over there if you've got any super accurate, high speed reaming requirements. That's it in a nutshell. And custom ones and big batches.
Perfect. Thanks, Colin. Next up is Fanuc. Now, I think it'd be fair to say that they're probably one of the largest or most well-known names in the manufacturing sector, obviously for software, but for automation and machines. They're huge. So how did they, as a global brand, decide what to put on their stand?
It must be so difficult, mustn't it? But I mean, you look at their stand at the show, 1,444 meters squared. I mean, it's massive, and you won't miss it because it will be bright yellow. You know, and everybody will be wearing yellow. The kit is yellow. Of course, some of their collaborative products are green now, or white, in fact. But yeah, they will be. How do they distinguish what to put on their stand? I think they look at a theme, and really, it's automation. It's digitization or digitalization. And they have so much to offer in this area. I mean, if you go to, you always go to a Fanuc stand, worth going because they're fun. You know, I'm not just talking about the technology. There'll be your table football. There'll be a robot that's picking up a car. There'll be
beer.
There'll be a beer. Yeah,
they often
dispensing
have
a beer.
don't they?
It's the kind of stand you go to learn where the advancements in manufacturing are coming from and where things are going, but at the same time with a kind of a little bit of a light-hearted approach to it as well, which I think attracts people from all sides. Now, of course, they will have their injection molding machinery there. They'll have their EDM solutions. They'll have their robo drills, and of course, they'll have all of their industrial robots. They'll have their collaborative robots. And they'll have their control. I think there's a new control system or some new software, as there always is evolving. I mean, Fanuc, you've got to remember when you go on a Fanuc stand, as I said, 1,444 meters squares, it will be huge. There'll be so much on there to see. But wherever you go in the exhibition, you are going to be seeing products supported by Fanuc. So it won't just be about what's on that stand. It'll be the fact that this is rolled out around the show. So I think even automated vehicle solutions, the collaborative robots working in conjunction with their machine tools. There is always a lot to see on a Fanuc stand. It'll be well laid out. There'll be plenty of space, and it will be
a very basic question I'm going to put to you: what will the robot arm be lifting? Because before I've seen big engine blocks.
Well, it had
a Corvette last time we saw.
Yeah, well, it was. I think it was it was a car. I couldn't recall the car, but yeah, it was the world's strongest robot was picking up a vehicle and just moving it around and this is, I think. We'll talk about some of the machine tool suppliers and how much they put into the installation of their kit there and the themes at the show. But Fanuc will be very much about educating people how technology is evolving, how you can work with automation, how easy automation is to use. There'll be lots to see.
And there you have it, Fanuc, not to be missed. Next up, we have LNS, a one-stop shop for machine tool peripherals. And in 2023, they are celebrating, I hope there's going to be cake on the stand, 50 years of activity.
You're looking at me, Lindsay.
I am.
I cannot guarantee cake, unfortunately. I know that's going to disappoint Paul. But LNS, you say peripherals, like we practiced that before the show, because that was a hard one to say. One end of the machine, all the way through to the other end of the machine. That's it in a nutshell. Does that sound fair to you?
Perfect.
Okay, so I say that. We're looking at your bar loader. So they've got the Quick Load Servo 105. What does that mean to you? Or am I going to have to answer that?
Quick load.
Absolutely.
Fast.
So you're loading the bar. And I'm going to put Paul to the test because a lot of people, I want to get 4 metre bar, 5 metre bar. Why would you go at a short bar?
I think there's
and when I say short bar, I don't mean having a drink.
I think there's a few reasons. The short bar magazines are really popular because they're lower cost. They also fit into a smaller area. they're probably the two main reasons that I would think of. A longer bar magazine, which I'm sure you'll come on to, it's going to be better for your longer runs because you can put more bar in it, but it will take up more space and cost you a bit more money. And I'm sure there's other points that you'll touch
Well, my
on.
key point is...
But they do both, I assume.
They do both, but I'm not going to go into long bar. I'm going to keep on the short bar straightness, because obviously long bar, you're going to get much more error in that length, and it can ultimately damage a machine tool life and things like that, and you're not going to get such good tolerances. So your shorter bar is good for that side of things. And this machine it looks absolutely fantastic. And it's got a HMI, and you know what that is, don't you?
No.
Okay, brilliant. Human machine interface. So they thought about, some of these machine shops we go to are down and dirty, but that's the nature of their trade. But a lot of engineers, nice and pristine. This machine looks absolutely fantastic. The HMI, so easy to use. And if things go wrong, QR code, you've got your problem solver there. Nice and simple. I'm going to move on because I'm aware that I'm taking up time and I'm limited.
I think it's the important thing that you mentioned there is you're talking about a provider that can feed a machine and also take part out of the machine. And those two things often, if they're bought from a different supplier, might not be as good as buying everything from one. So you've got the kind of the machine sitting in the middle, and then you've got everything around it which feeds it, which ejects it, swarf comes out of it, supplied by one supplier. So it's it's good opportunity to see everything around the machine,
and also their latest developments, and see people's requirements and needs for different part sizes changes, and they're going to be involving that, listening to customers. So maybe what you heard or you thought was a way that they did it before, they might be changing it.
You have to think it's an important point, because as we talk, a lot of machine tools are going towards becoming more flexible and handling different sizes of bar, changing from job to job quickly. Now, if you're let down by either where, say, the swarf or the part comes out, or where the bar goes in, what's the point in having the advantages on the machine if you haven't got them supported around it? So I'm sure that L&S are continually working on ways to make their product more flexible, like you've said with the HMI, to make it more operator friendly. All things to
Quick
be said.
changeover as well for that bar. So again, flexibility. And then we'll go out the other end, so your chip conveyor, they've thought about that as well. So it's not just about getting that swarf out, it's about the filtration of your coolant, for example. So engineer's favourite job, I know, did you enjoy doing the tank clean outs?
No.
Take time to think about that, Tom. Did you enjoy doing tank clean? Absolutely dreadful job. We won't ask Paul if he enjoyed that job, but that's part of what they do. So less tank clean outs and cleaning the chip conveyor. Simple things like consumables, so it's nice and simple, and then they're filtering that coolant, so you're getting better life with the coolant itself.
You also wouldn't know a swarf conveyor, how many different types of swarf conveyor. I remember when I used to sell machines, it was like, do you want a slat? Do you want a hinge? I can't even remember the terminology now,
But the corkscrew.
Yeah, there's so many different methods of extracting the swarf, and that depends on the type of swarf you're producing, how it comes out, stringy, chips, and all the rest of it. So it's not quite as simple as just going, I'll have a swarf conveyor.
But what you've got to think is as well, which L&S have been doing, is with swarf conveyors, if you get swarf or fines in your coolant, don't forget when you're doing your next part, that's coming back out the coolant. So if you're trying to get a nice finish and you've got tiny bits of swarf in your coolant, it's going to be hitting your part. So you're not going to get nice finishes, tolerances. It could scrap your part. So if you've got a conveyor that will keep all the rubbish out your coolant and filter your coolant's going to last longer, which is going to save you money. You're not going to scrap parts because of defects or blemishes, save you money. So something people don't, and I think it's sometimes people don't really think about each end of the machine. They only think about what's in the middle, like you said.
I've got a question though quickly. You said swarf or fines?
So fines in your coolant is like
Very small.
very, very small bits of swarf, which will get through the coolant pump.
Filtration
Not on this machine,
system.
because 500 or 140 microns. There you go. How's that?
There you go.
Beautiful.
So machine tool peripherals, make sure you're heading to the L&S stand. Next up, let's discuss Akuma. So Akuma is one of the largest machine tool providers in the world, and they're celebrating again. So there's lots of celebrations happening at EMO. However, they have been in the industry and making machines for 125 years. It's quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there are 3 world premieres, 4 European premieres. So there's going to be a lot of new technologies there. I know one of their big focus points is their OSP P500 software or control, which will actually be equipped or will have on the machine a digital twin, which is what everybody's talking these days about digital twin, and the fact that if you have a digital twin, you're able to verify the machining of a part. So you're going to minimize the opportunity to have accidents. You're going to ensure your part comes off right first time. So incorporating this type of feature into a control system is going to be very advantageous.
Can I ask what might be a stupid question? Isn't that just CAM?
Well, they will have this on their own software.
Yeah.
So essentially, it is CAM, but some CAM doesn't offer verification. You have to go to a verification software in order to have that. So, I mean, there are a lot of CAM solutions that do have both, but often you might have to have a CAM solution, verification software, into the machine, and you've got kind of almost 3 factors there. Whereas using something like this, I assume, I don't know until I've seen it, but this is one of their big pushes now, to have that. Also, one of the big focuses will be the economics of a machine, the green side of things. Sustainability, yeah, which is a feature, in fact, a few of the ones we're talking about
Paul,
today.
the last 3 machine shops that I've been to have all recently invested in solar panels. All of them.
And that's really important. But I think the machine tool manufacturers are kind of in a race, really. Here they're in a race in order to make their machine more efficient than the competition. So we're seeing the theme here at EMO is, if you're a visitor to the show, there's going to be lots of machine tool suppliers there, and you're going to be able to go on and see the ways they can reduce the cost of your energy bill. And I look at some of the technology with Okuma. They call their Genos 5-axis machine an entry-level machine. It isn't entry level. It's a very high performing 5-axis machine. But around the world, Okuma sell thousands of machines a year. They're up there probably in the top 5 of machine tool manufacturers and sellers. They'll sell turning centers, machining centers, vertical lathes, multitasking machines. They have a solution pretty much for most manufacturing requirements, all built to a certain Japanese standard as well. And in fact, they do. Sorry, Lindsay, I'm sure you're going to, but just going to say they also importantly make all their own drives, encoders, and virtually every component on the machine. So it's kind of
let's go down to some of the technology then. You went to IMTS, the Armroid and the Standroid.
Oh yes, I forgot about these. I mean, yeah, you're talking integrated automation in very, very small footprints. The Armroid literally sits and is part of the machine, and it's an arm that goes into the machine, puts the part in and takes the finished part out. I think the clever or the good thing about it is it is one cell. So what you're not doing is adding automation to a machine. You are buying a machine with an Armroid on it, which is just one control panel.
Armroid in the actual working envelope?
It's kind of just outside, but it sits very neatly on it.
Yes, it's almost just, if you're operating on one side, it's just to the other side of the window, and it just kind of sticks out ever so slightly.
It does. So it's probably in a footprint similar to what some machines might be, where you don't have the automation, but also because the interface or the control system controls both the robot and the machine. It means you're not having to worry about programming via 2 different portals. You're doing it all in one place. And if you're a manufacturer that just wants to load and unload small parts, perfect. And the Standroid is a very, very similar solution. These 2 machines, which you're right, we saw at IMTS and have seen it plenty of places, just show the attention to detail they're putting on automation and keeping the unmanned run going, as well as offering the machines that they've got.
Lots to see on the Okuma stand. I'm sure Paul could have continued a lot more there, so it's worth visiting. Next up, we're going to talk about Goering. Now, Goering is a turnkey solution provider for tooling solutions. I don't think there's a tool that they don't produce. Am I correct?
Yes, they do everything. They essentially are your one-stop shop for everything. So a lot of companies will get high feeds from one place, end mills from another, drills from another, but Goering do it all.
So what would be the benefit of going to one person?
Well, essentially, you know where it's all coming from for a start. You would get a good connection with your rep. So if you're having trouble, you're only dealing with one person. You're not dealing with multiples, and it's just going to be a lot easier. But as well as Goering do something for everybody, and I was blown away to find out that, what do you think is the smallest cutter you can get with through coolant?
I feel like I know the answer already.
It's
I was listening to your prep, so I'm not going to answer it.
With through coolant.
With
So it's got to be
through
super
coolant.
small.
0.2 of a mil,
Hold on.
which is just ridiculous.
You didn't give us a chance to answer that question.
No, because you wouldn't have got it anyway. But Guerin have something for everything, and they are quite focused on medical. So medical parts are either made from your metals or your plastics. The problem with your plastics is coolant can seep into it. So you've got to find a way around that, and Guerin have. So they now machine everything dry. But then there's a problem with machining dry. I've had it. You get your end mill clogged up. There's a big bang, and everybody looks over like meerkats, and you think, I've done it again. So they have come up with a new tool angle. They've also come up with new coatings to stop this. So they've even thought of problems like that. And then at A&B, they were showing two parts. Well, it was the same part, but after it had all been roughed out, and then after it had all been finished, to show they have a tooling for everything. And it's just great. And I don't know why people don't use one over others.
Why do you think that is, though, Ty? Is it? I mean, product's got to be right, hasn't it? Which I'm sure you say you wouldn't just buy everything from one supplier if somebody had a favourable product. It's got to,
And without trying to upset anyone, there is companies out there who are better at one than the other. You get some companies whose high feeds are amazing, but then the carbide's not so great, and then vice versa. But with Guerin, they are quite unique that they still produce their own carbide for their own end mills. That's quite unique these days because it's owned by a very, very big company. You get other companies get the bits out of it. So
turning, milling, all of those applications.
Everything. And they also do long drills up to gun drilling. So we've talked about gun drilling before. It's quite a specific process. Usually you have to go to a specific supplier for a gun drill. No, Guerin do it all.
I've got a quick question for you, Tom. 0.2 mil tool through coolant. What application would you use that on? Don't just say a small one. Sorry, I'll put you on the spot there.
Medical, really, because knee joint, shoulders, if they need really tiny holes in to get rid of pressure.
I wonder what kind of pressure you could get through that.
Well, talking of the pressure through it is, please correct me if I'm wrong, Guerin, but there was something I read where you can't actually start the coolant in the tool until it's inside the material, because the coolant pressure would shatter the tool. Because it's so small with the coolant holes in, you have to essentially pre-drill it enough to get your tool in, then you can start your coolant, because then the hole keeps it all in.
Makes sense.
But just before I finish, I'm really sorry, they are bringing out a new revolutionary drilling tool, and that is very...
Tell us more about it.
Exactly. I don't know anything about
There
it.
you have it.
But it's gonna be brilliant, and I can't wait to see it.
It'll have to be revolutionary. It's got to go round, hasn't it?
Well,
Oh, goodness.
That's a good one.
and the problem is, it's here all day.
I know. There you have it. So if you're looking for the latest kind of research and development on tooling, revolutionary products, your one-stop shop, you've got the Guerin stand to visit. Next up, we're going to discuss Hanwha. Now, Hanwha is one of the world's leading manufacturers of sliding head lathes. In fact, it was one of the top three in 2019. So a huge contender for the sliding head industry.
You're looking at me, Lindsay, like I know all
am.
about sliding head. I love a sliding head, absolutely. But I'm going to ask Tom, would you use sliding heads just for big batch runs?
No, you can use them for...
That's all I need. Just know.
sorry,
No, go on.
okay.
You go.
No, with how quick and easy they are to change over now, and with programming capabilities on the machine, as well as CAM systems, you can use them for anything now.
Another question for you, because I'm going to keep you on your toes. When you say changeover, what are you changing?
So changing over from one part to another.
I know that, but you're changing the guide bush, non-guide
Guide bush, tooling. It's just so easy.
Okay, so what they're showcasing at the show is the XV 2026. So make your own assumption on what size bar that take.
Probably 26 mil, I would
Good,
imagine.
I'll tell you what.
Maybe you might be able to squeeze a
But
bit more. I don't know.
they do.
You say 26 mil, but let's be honest, you can usually take the guide bush out and get that little bit extra.
And how long would it take you to change a guide bush, Tom?
I don't know because I've never done it.
Okay, you, Paul?
About 15 minutes, probably.
Good. I won't ask you, Lynn. Or even
5 minutes.
Okay, there you go. So very, very quick and simple to change those guide bushes over, which is what you want if you're changing between applications. You've got that big bar. You want to keep those machines running. As we say, keep those spindles turning. But also, with the Hanwell range of machines, they are super powerful. So I would say, on average, machine sliding head power, I'm going to put it to you. What do you reckon on average?
But the spindle power is normally around about 7-8 kilowatts, something like that.
Absolutely not much, much bigger on a hammer. Up to, well, the ST range is up to, let me get this right, about 23 kilowatts. So they're going to be doing big, big cuts if required. I know you're thinking sliding head, smaller components, so their range is from 3 to 42 millimetre, but they can do some big cuts, some tricky materials if required. Next thing they've got is a double hinge B-axis. Now, a nice analogy, and I'll let you talk us through this nice analogy you had earlier. And as an example, Paul, so people can visualise.
The only thing I can think is that your B-axis on a sliding head lathe, which is really important. So I think for those that don't know, a B-axis on a machine will give you the ability to do more operations on the component, get angled features. And I think for people coming to an event like this that want to look at machinery like this, they're probably looking at one hit machining and potentially on complex parts, which is where a B-axis can help. But I believe their B-axis, what they're saying here is it's supported probably in 2 positions.
Absolutely.
Which means you've got a more rigid construction on that machine. That's where I would...
Do you think that goes with the extra power of the machine as well then? Because obviously it's got more power, so you can take a bigger cut, you can take a heavier cut. Obviously, with a B-axis, maybe if it's just on one, it may start to flex. So maybe they've strengthened it all.
I think, no, the spindle's more the higher power there in terms of 2023
Yeah, I know,
kilowatt,
but
on the driven
obviously
tooling,
if you've got one area that is very capable, what you don't want is an area that's not. because
Exactly.
you're
You
only
want
as
to
good as your
upgrade
weakest
everything
point.
to make it
So
all
it's
as
probably a
steady
very
and as
good
fast
point.
as possible.
Yeah, one of the things and you might even have on your notes, one of the things I saw at the last EMO show, I'm sure there'll be several machines on the Hanwell stand, but is it their STC range?
STL is, if you're
STL
talking big
range,
machines.
much bigger machine. Again, more powerful, but is that I think that's into the fixed head market. So I think they've got that offering. Then I might be wrong; it might be sliding head, but I know it's a much bigger machine. I believe there's turrets on it, so it's there's more than just the sliding head on the Hanwell, but certainly for production.
So essentially, they could have a machine for everyone if you're doing something small up to something a lot bigger.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so one hit machining and extremely powerful and larger sliding head.
They also have robots
machines.
as well, I should say that, or cobots as well. Hanwell, they've done very well around Europe and around the world with supplying solutions for automation with robots and cobots.
I just said that because I didn't know.
There you go.
Did you not know? Oh, there you go.
I didn't know that.
All right, guys, moving on swiftly.
The list goes on. That's Hanwell. So next up, we have got Hyman. Now, I personally visited their facility. In fact, it's a very modern production facility out in Germany. And they have a strapline that says quality wins. And they're specialising in producing tool holding technology. And I personally would say they're a market leader in this area. And they also produce micro set presetting machines. So there's lots that they can display. Does anyone know what they've got actually on the stand?
How long have you got?
Oh, goodness.
So,
goodness me.
Let's just clarify, Tom, 4 minutes.
Right. So Hymer, like you said, are market leaders in tool presetting, balancing machines, shrink fit machines, and they will be bringing all of this to EMO. So, and they say they have a presetting machine for everyone. So you can have the littler version, which is all done manually, or you can have fully automatic ones, up to a cube. So they have a fully automated cube, which will automate your shrinking, your presetting. It will do everything, and it's got a little conveyor that brings the tools around, which you can actually make as long as you need. So it will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that is, to me, just for your companies like Boeing, McLaren, who are running day in, day out. That's such an amazing thing. Now, I'm going to ask Paul a question because I didn't know about this until yesterday. Do you know what cool flash is?
Character.
Right. So,
What?
Of Superman or something.
No,
Probably
like
one
Marvel
of
or
Jake's
DC.
Marvel
Right, so-
movies.
people have high pressure coolant on their machines. Some people don't. Now, obviously, if you don't have high pressure coolant, but you still have through spindle coolant, that can cause problems with swarf because obviously the coolant's not hitting the swarf enough and you're not clearing the swarf. So you're recutting your own swarf, which is damaging your part, so on and so forth. So Hymer have got a new tool holder called the Cool Flash, which has your standard coolant holes going up to the top ring, but then it has a reservoir, and they've put pinholes in, and they call it the hose pipe effect. So if you've got your hose pipe and it's dribbling out, but then you cover the end and it comes out a lot faster. So they can make high pressure coolant out of a non-high pressure coolant system.
Is that kind of measurable as well to a specific force? That would be interesting to see.
They do actually have on display the tool holder with the coolant, which they will turn the pressure up and down to show you just how powerful it is.
Because the problem is, if you have a machine and you only have through spindle coolant, you don't have high pressure coolant, it's very difficult, and people might correct me if I'm wrong, to be able to upgrade a machine to have high pressure coolant.
You've got to have
you
new
can't
pumps.
do it through. Exactly. There's a lot.
Depending on how the spindle's built, you may have to have new pipework put in, which it's a very, very costly upgrade.
I did see something from Hymer when I was at the Starag Tech Days a few weeks ago, where they had an automated vehicle taking tools to a tool changer, basically taking
It's easy for you to say, Paul. Come on now.
a carbide tool, putting it into a tool body, then picking that up and then putting it into their presetting machine, checking the dimensions, and then basically picking it up and putting it back into the tool carousel. The idea behind that is, of course, you can basically add tools to your tool carousel as you are in manufacturing, and making sure. And what I was interested in is when they heat shrunk the tool, actually how they could ensure that the measurement of that tool was as accurate as it actually was, and it was fascinating.
Right. So this comes on to their
time's up, mate. Sorry.
This comes on to their presetting, where they can actually the heat shrink machine will measure the old tool, or it will know the measurement of the old tool because it's all done with barcode scanning, and you drop the new tool in and it will automatically set it to the right height. So when you put that into the machine, you skip having to reset that tool. Now, just before we finish, a Hymer shrink fit holder, how long do you think Hymer guaranteed that holder for?
You ain't coming to me again, are you?
Anyone. This can go to anyone.
Lifetime.
How long?
Lifetime.
Right.
I said it first, Lindsay.
They guarantee, if you use a heat shrink holder, the heat shrink machine, so their machines, you use all their equipment, they guarantee that holder will last as long as you need it to. It'll last a lifetime.
Unlike this section, which is 4 minutes.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you don't apologise. This is a company. We've been to their facility. Again, I say this about a few brands, and when they do something as a brand, Hymer, they do it right. They're at the latest advancement of technology. So if you've got if you have got any issues in any of those areas, it's definitely worth visiting.
Just before we finish, sorry. Just before we finish. Do you know how they guarantee your tool height is set perfectly each time? This is a patented design just for Hymer, where the presetter works like a camera iris. So as it's setting it, it focuses on the tool to make sure it's in the exact right place.
I thought you were calling him Iris.
I'm sorry, but it focuses like a camera does to get it all in focus so it knows it's exactly right.
Should people be visiting their stand at EMO?
Definitely.
Will you be visiting their stand?
I will,
at EMO?
yes, and I cannot wait.
Brilliant. Well, there you have it. That's the Hymer
I've heard
stand.
they've got quite a good after party as well.
So yes, okay, nice little plug there. Thank you, Tom. So next up is Hwachon. Now, Hwachon is the oldest and largest South Korean machine tool manufacturer with their own foundry, own machine part production, hand-finished box guideways on their machines. They're steeped in history, drilling, turning, milling. They offer a complete range of machine tools. So what are they going to have on their stand?
I think it's a company. When we filmed, in fact, at a few places, Steel Fab, we went and focused on the Hwachon machines. I was always surprised to see the breadth of what they offer. At EMO, we've been on their stands, and they're battling it out with some of the biggest companies in the world in terms of the differing technologies that they offer. Some of the points I would make is that they have a range of vertical machining centers, which has always caught my eye, and it's called the Vesta machine, and it has a few things, and these are reasons people should possibly visit their stand if they're looking for technologies that are a little bit different. But their Vesta VMCs have this a couple of points on them. They have this dual speed ATC, which is something I've seen. So it means you can basically tool change either fast or slow depending on what part you're doing. Sometimes you might have heavier tools, sometimes you might not need to chase cycle times, so therefore you can adapt kind of the performance of the machine in accordance with the part that you're manufacturing. They're always seen, the Huachon machines, to have FANUC controls. In this instance at the event they're going to have Siemens on their machine as well, which is important for people that obviously use Siemens controls, and that will be on a Hitec 650. So we've seen a lot of the Huachon lathes. They go from the very small Q-Tex up to the huge 850 oil country machines. And that just shows, I think, for any manufacturer that wants to have a machine shop where they don't necessarily want to have to go to lots of different providers of machines, with Huachon there is pretty much a machine for every need. Even their 5-axis, they'll have the D2 and the D3 there, big mold making machines, and again with a Siemens control on a 5-axis. Vertical lathes as well. So they have something, and I know we've said it a few times, and it's probably something that I've said on these podcasts more than once, but there is a machine, if you go to EMO on their stand, that will be able to satisfy a manufacturing requirement.
They're 850 machines. They're huge. They're going to have one
They
of
are.
those?
I don't think they'll have an 850. I think they go up to a 650 there. Might even have slightly bigger than that, but I don't think they'll have an 850. But still, I mean, they've got 11 machines on the booth, which
11
is a lot of kit.
That's going to be a big stand.
Yeah, it's going to be a big stand, and it's an impressive stand, and it's a, they're some of their VMCs that I mentioned. They have the latest 15-inch touchscreen controls, come with box guideways or linears. So regardless of what you want a machine, whether it's fast, light cuts, or big heavy duty machine, you can
They're
have
privately owned, aren't they?
They are privately owned, and like you said, I believe they were the largest privately owned machine tool manufacturer in Korea. Their control systems as well, they work very closely with FANUC. They've got some kind of really clever and funky monitoring within their controls, which help manufacturers evaluate tool wear and things like that. So there's lots of unique little features. That it's a stand that will be big. It will be spacious, as they always are, because it needs to be with a lot of kit, and they'll have everything that I've mentioned there.
I'll tell you what as well, the tool change, a lot of people don't think of it, because obviously, like you were saying, you can have a big U drill in or a really long drill, and you do not want that spinning round at full pelt.
Yeah.
So
it's just these little features that they factored into the machine like that.
It just shows that they're looking after the machine. It's not just the guy who's buying it, which is always nice to know.
Yeah.
Because and they do look nice as well, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do.
So like you were saying earlier, when companies now, it's the trade's not like it used to be, where it's just a dingy, dirty machine shop and you wipe your feet on the way out. It's people are a lot more. Well, they're looking after the business now. You've got nicely painted floors and machines just looking aesthetically nice as well.
But Tom, isn't that also part and parcel of winning big contracts, and the fact that it's not just about the final result of the end part, but it's having to reach, forgive me if I get this wrong, but standards in industry to be able to then broach different industries like aerospace. Isn't that all part and parcel of it?
Because you've got to have your and
ISOs and everything.
Yeah, 9001, I think it is, the aerospace one, and they come in and they check your business for everything. So having a machine with that sort of safety in mind as well, because we know health and safety is becoming a big point now. They're trying to push it as much as possible. So even the tool change could go for a big win on health and safety. So it's just like you said, it's the little things that are really helping at the end of the day when you're trying to machine these parts.
Okay, there you have it. So that is your Huachon. Last but by no means least, let's discuss Mazak. So Mazak is a leading global manufacturer and distributor of machine tools, laser machines and automation solutions. They live by being committed to excellence. And from what we know, it looks like they're really trying to focus specifically on the pain points of manufacturers, not just providing, there you go, that's a machine. It's now they're taking a few steps back, thinking about what the end result is and kind of working back from there. What are we going to see on the Mazak stand?
Yeah, that's important because I think it's a theme. I think what from reading and talking to the guys at Mazak, it's very much like you say. It's not a case of we've developed this machine, come and see it. It's going to be great. It's looking at the pain points that manufacturers have, and they've identified a lot of these correctly, which is skill shortages, energy costs that we talk about. Wage inflation. We don't talk about that one here because we don't want people to think that wages inflate. And also, obviously, the environmental costs and things like that. So they have taken their products and geared what they're showing at the event around these what people face as problems. And I think that's probably very attractive to somebody going to the event. I mean, whether they're coming from here or the UK or wherever they're coming from, they're going to be looking to go to the show to find something that helps them in their machine shop. And when they need help, it's going to be because they've got, i.e. one of these problems. There'll be no less than 19 machines on their stand. 19
Are they
machines.
just taking up a hall to themselves?
We kind of keep going up and yet 19 machines that they're actually going to have at the event. Some of the ones that I've picked out of what I've read, the CV500 5-axis machine, very popular, built here in the UK, will be there, done exceptionally well.
I was just about to say, do you think that goes along the sustainability that they're actually building machines over here now, not just importing them?
I think so. But I think what it all said is it gives them the ability to be able to use the knowledge and the skill sets that we have and they have here in the UK.
Because their machines have become very popular. We see them all the time.
Very popular. It won't just be here in the UK. I mean, they would class them, and they have. And we said this earlier about another company as an entry level machine, but that isn't an entry level 5-axis as far as I'm concerned. No. They'll also have their QTE range, which is their turning centres. Which again, these two machines that I just picked there are typically great in all regions of manufacturing. Your small companies, your larger OEM businesses, they, turn parts and mill parts, and they are where those machines fit perfectly. So there's a big audience, so it should be attractive to those too. But of course, they'll also have their Integrex machines. They'll also have some new products that they're releasing. One of which, in fact, this isn't a new release, but this was really interesting. This is the FSW 460V, which is a friction welding machine as well as milling. So you're talking about a hybrid machine here. And I think I've seen one at a previous show. I think I've seen one.
We'll have it running because that is so great. The friction welding is brilliant.
It is incredible to see. And I did have to today to go onto YouTube and just have a look at this machine in action. But yeah, for the EV industry, for semiconductors, where you need to weld as well as machine, it houses it in the tool changer, brings it in, and you're going to ask me how it works. You need to go to EMO to see it. But this is kind of innovation where people are taking different areas of manufacturing where they need to go to different people with different skills and bringing them onto one machine.
That friction welding, is it to save remnant as well, or is it for specific? I know it is for saving, and that's what they
yeah. I mean, my knowledge of the friction welding, for example, if you had there was one example, radiator parts where you've got you almost need to build up areas and then they can be machined as well. But so you've got the ability to basically, let's take another example. I don't know whether there's in a repair instance, I'm not quite sure on the technology, so they will be able to answer it at EMO. But if you need to build up, then to machine, to remachine in order to, rather than having larger fabrications, larger billets and things like that, you can almost you can kind of build parts as well as machine them.
But I think, like you said, the repair thing is a big one, because usually you would take that off your machine, put it on another machine to be all welded up, to then bring it back onto your machine. Yeah. Then you have to clock it all up and you have to get it right. To do it all on one machine. Exactly.
It's really. I tell you, there's a lot of exciting stuff we talk about here, but that will be definitely worth a look. They've also got their Optiplex 3015 Neo laser machine. Now, I saw this. I went to Mazak Optronics in Chicago, and I saw this machine in action there. this is all a laser cutter. In the traditional world, laser cutting is all about the depth of part, the surface finish, and you kind of have to pick different machines depending on the material, the depth, the finish, and all of those things. With their new technology that they offer here, it's called beam shaping. It basically means it doesn't matter how thick or how thin the part is, what the actual edge quality is. This technology, their beam shaping technology on the Neo machine, can actually cut stainless up to 50 millimeters, aluminium up to 50 millimeters as well. So you're talking about a machine that can cut very quickly in small plates.
Surely that's going to save people money and space, though. If you've got one machine that can do all of this instead of having 4 or 5 to do things,
this is their beam shaping technology, which has been developed in order to do, let's compare it to a multitasking mill turn machine where you're turning and then milling on different machines, bringing it onto one. This type of technology is really allowing you to go to market and be able to select whatever material you need, and the control and the capabilities of the nozzles and all of that sort of stuff will make sure that you can cut that material successfully to those depths.
Can I just clarify? Steel and aluminium at 50 mil.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think they could normally cut such depth in aluminium.
This is aluminium up to 50 millimeters and stainless. And I actually saw it. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, but
machine
that's going to be massive because normally by the time...
Well, people look at CO2 machines, they look at various other ways of doing it.
But you think 50 mil, you'd have thought by the time you're cutting that depth, you've melted the top of the aluminium. So
it's changing the focus, isn't it?
I want
the technology, as I understand it.
It's all
you want to go to the stand.
I want to see this because I would have thought you would melt the top.
Have I sold it to you?
You have. I'm definitely going to go and have a look at this.
Is there any more on the stand?
Yeah, there is. And I think
there's more on.
There's a good example of what they're showing machine tool wise out of the 19. Of course, there's lots more. But one of the other interesting points I picked up on is their M2M software, which is machine to Mazak, which I can only imagine, and again, you need to explore this more with them, is, I know that it's kind of a monitoring software within their control. So we talked about digital twins earlier, and we talk about companies trying to be more efficient with their machining. We talk about third-party products, which you can add to machine tool suppliers' product to give you some of this feedback, some of these results, maintenance issues and all the rest of it. This particular piece of software, I believe, is actually fully integrated into their control and basically means you can do a lot of the things that you might have from third parties now by being able to be more efficient, reduce cycle times, monitor tool wear, all of those things on the machine, even on some of the let's say the entry level machines. So they're kind of bringing everything into one place, and then you have their iConnect software as well, which they'll be talking a lot in detail about, which enables you to for connectivity reasons to be able to communicate with the manufacturer and get the best out of your technology.
And I'm sorry not to upset any third-party suppliers, but surely if Mazak have designed this for their machines, it's going to work through the whole range instead of you going and getting a third-party software that's been designed to go over 4 different suppliers, so you might get 3 out of the 5 options, 4 out of the 5. You'd think the Mazak one will be integrated, so it'll just work.
Yeah, you take a machine tool these days, all the things we talk about, the pain points that they have identified that people have, this type of software in conjunction with their hardware and their machine will give operators and purchasers the opportunity to resolve the problems that we've had. So
right. 19 machines, all with all of this technology on that we've just spoken about. It is definitely worth visiting the Mazak stand at EMO. Right. I'm excited. Are you all excited about EMO?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for those that have been interested in all the podcasts that we've done, I think it's important to say it's very easy to get to as a show. Hanover in Germany, we're flying. There's a few locations around Bremen we're flying into, which is an hour's drive south.
For some flying, isn't it?
There's a boat. You're going on a boat across. I mean, it's 2 hours from the or 3 hours from the 4 hours, 5 hours.
Keep going. It's a long drive. It depends who you're in the van with, but that's all I'm going to say.
But accessibility from around Europe as well. It's easy to get to.
But that's because we've got a kit. Because we've got 5 crews going out there to film and all these stands.
Yeah,
we're going to be super excited, but super busy.
How many stands? What did you say?
Oh, sorry, 5. We've got 5 teams. I don't know how many stands we're filming.
27, wasn't it?
Yeah. Over 40, I think, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
From the 18th to the 23rd of September, MTD will be at EMO 2023 in Hanover. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch, get ready, and get excited about EMO.